Slot Machine is the perfect way to dynamically add a little bit of variety to your websites. Hey everybody, Joe Workman here, and today we're going to be looking at Slot Machine 3.0. This is a really exciting update to Slot Machine. It adds a lot of power and a lot of simplicity. It is super easy to use. It's definitely the easiest and most powerful way to add a little bit of variety to our web pages. So as I said, Slot Machine ships with 3 different stacks, as we see here in the stacks library. It comes with Slot Machine, Randomize, and a random image. Let's look at the main Slot Machine stack first. When you add Slot Machine to the page, what happens is you have multiple slots that you can add. And what happens is on page load, Slot Machine will randomly choose one of those and display just that slot. So if we look at this really simple web page, we'll notice this top randomizes a completely different layout every time. And on the bottom, it randomly chooses different images so that we can display different images on page load. And if I just refresh this page, we'll notice that every single time here we have a different sort of layout. Up here we have a 2-column, and here we have 3 different images. If we keep refreshing this page, we'll notice that we get different layouts on the top and different images on the bottom. Oh, we were a winner. And to do that inside edit mode is really simple. As we notice here in this top one, we have different slots, and every single slot contains a different sort of layout, right? And on the bottom here, I have a 3-column stack with a slot machine, and inside each slot is a different image. Now, for convenience sake, so it doesn't take up tons of space inside edit mode, Slot Machine has a collapse slots option, which will then only display the very first slot for you inside edit mode. And if you ever want to force preview a particular slot, you simply go into the slot and click preview slot. So if you want to, if you're working on the layout for this particular one and you want to make sure when you preview inside RapidWeaver, this layout is always displayed, just simply click this preview slot and that will exactly do that for you. So now that particular slot is previewed. And we show a little icon here to make you know that that particular slot is getting previewed manually within RapidWeaver. You can simply turn that off when you don't need it anymore. Now the next stack is super simple. This is called Randomize. And what this does, this always displays all your content, but it randomizes the order. So here we have just a simple set of numbers here. That is just a bunch of numbers just on top of each other. If you notice when I'm refreshing this page, the orders of those numbers are changing. Now we've also added support for other things such as Foundation Grid. So if you're using Foundation Grid or other layouts, you can actually randomize those particular layouts as well. Now in this example, I just have very simple, just some numbers, but imagine you can really randomize anything. It could be images, it could be entire layouts of stacks. It doesn't really matter. The randomized stack will just random those orders for you. Now configuring the randomized stack couldn't be easier. You simply, if we add a new one to the page, you'll notice all it is a single drop zone. So in this example here, I just added a bunch of text stacks on top of each other. And then Randomize will randomize the order of those text stacks dynamically on every page load. And then further down the page, you'll notice here that we have a block grid that is inside of Randomize. And then inside block grid, basically what we want to do is we set inside Randomize, there's a single setting here that defines what elements. So you would choose Foundation Block Grid inside here, and then that will then notice that it has a block grid inside and will randomize the elements within that block grid. Now there are other options, such as if you just have any sort of lists, it can randomize the list. This also, lists tend to be used for a lot of different layout stacks. So that could potentially work for a lot of different grids and whatnot, because a lot of those do use lists. And for those of you that are CSS wizards, you can choose custom and then define your own CSS selector and then the contents of that selector will be randomized. Now the last stack in this set is called Random Image, and it's really a very interesting stack. What is the use case that this is solving? Let's say I have a folder of images on my server and I want to randomly display one of those images on the web page. So for example, here on my server, I've created a folder called Slot Machine, and I've added 4 different images to this folder on my server. And what I can do here is, this is transmit. I can right click and just say copy URL. So I get the URL to one of those images. All I need to then do is paste in the URL to that image on inside the stack. And we'll see that. So we know right now in edit mode whether or not that works. This is that actual image that I uploaded to the server. Now within RapidWeaver, we were always going to be seeing this particular image. But once we publish to the server, you'll notice that when I refresh this page, it randomly chooses any image from that folder. But this only happens after you publish to your server. Now, as you see, Slot Machine is super easy to use. It couldn't be easier. There's only a couple settings per stack. It just works. Now, you might be wondering, how does Slot Machine differ from a lot of other, random or randomizing stacks, or stacks that randomly choose content and display only one? There's a big difference. And Slot Machine currently is the only one that actually uses PHP. And what that means is it actually randomly chooses the content that you want on the server and only sends the content that it chooses down to the browser. This is important because if you have a lot of content that you want to randomly display, if all of that content is sent to the server, it could slow down your web pages. We only want the content that is actually randomly selected. Okay, so that is a huge benefit in how Slot Machine differs from a lot of the other stacks that are out there. Now, that does come with actually a couple caveats. There are some stacks, let's say you wanted to put in an entire, slider inside Slot Machine. Kind of crazy, but let's say you wanted to do that. That could potentially not work too well if it's not chosen. There are some stacks that when you put it inside something like Slot Machine and Slot Machine doesn't choose it, if those stacks have some JavaScript on the page, it could cause some conflicts because the JavaScript's looking for that particular stack. Slot Machine didn't send it down, okay? Because we only wanted to display certain content. So while Slot Machine is cool and it is the best in that it only sends down content that you really, really want, it does have that caveat where some particular stacks have JavaScript that don't function properly when the HTML components of those stacks don't exist on the page. So that is one drawback. I want to let you know about that. It's a minor one though. So I really don't think you should be using any really crazy complex stacks inside Slot Machine. Really just randomize your content. A lot of, random images is a great way to do it. So anyway, yeah, hope you enjoy Slot Machine. This is a great update, really powerful, free update to all existing users as well. So hope you enjoy the free update and take care. Have a wonderful day and see you over on Weaver Space. Bye.